Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something that I have seen all over the place recently. I believe in February of this year, Mischief put out this new boot that they were making that's like a big red boot. Kind of looks like Astro Boy's boots that he wears, or maybe even like what Mario used to jump around in back in the day. To me, it looks kind of silly dressing it with regular clothes, but in terms of cosplay, I think it definitely has a place for something that could be really cool. And I wanted to kind of give people a cheaper option than going and spending $350 or $600 or however much they are now, depending on rarity in your area. It feels like it's something that's relatively easy in shape. I don't know how comfortable it will be to wear in foam, but that is what I am going to attempt to make it in. It won't really bend like a normal shoe would, but it'll definitely at least look like it, and you could take pictures of you standing still without it being too big of a deal. So without further ado, I am going to build the big red boot. But I'm going to put a twist on it. You saw it in the thumbnail. Let's get to building. Let me start by saying I am definitely not a fashion expert, nor do I pretend to be. If you think these are cool footwear, I mean no disrespect. They just seem a bit comical to me, especially with how big they are. To start off, I'm going to build the basic structure out of cardboard and green painter's tape to get the structure I need in order to make my template. With one side of the boot done, I can now use the foil and duct tape method to make my pattern. I cover the surface in foil and then cover that with duct tape. This allows me to get the shape of the object I need by using the foil, and the duct tape holds the shape of the foil so that I can cut it off of the cardboard. Once covered, I guess at where my cut lines and darts should be to allow this pattern to lay flat. I also go ahead and put registration marks on all the lines to help me align the cutout parts later.
Perfect.
Here I am tracing my pattern onto some poster board to make it easier for you to see on the template and make it easier to trace. The foil and duct tape method is my main technique for making templates. You could definitely use Pepicure or a number of other methods if you wanted to. These can be found in the description underneath my video. It is saved as a PDF and I scanned it in my computer on a 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of copy paper. Parts for this build will obviously have to be divided into smaller bits to fit on those pages. With my pattern mostly done at this point, I can trace it onto my materials. I am using some 10mm EVA foam for this build. I need the foam to be fairly rigid and sturdy, so it's not going to be exactly comfortable to be walking around in this shoe, but it will look the part. You will notice some of the parts are labeled with an R. That means that this is the right side of the boot. To get the left side, simply turn the pattern label side down and trace it again. I don't know that the boots are actually symmetrical, but I'm gonna make mine that way just for simplicity.
Perfect.
With all my parts roughly cut out, I'm ready to cut them into their final shapes. Make sure that you have a sharp knife, lock your wrist at an angle that you need it to be, and make as clean a pull through the material as possible. If any edge gets rough, you can always go and sand it with a rotary tool later to adjust it. Since the material is 10mm thick, I'm going to heat form a little bit of it with a heat gun to help get it closer to its final shape. Doing this step will limit the amount of stress put on the seams and reduce the amount of gaps you see in the glue up later. For the rounded toe of the boot, I push the foam against a round object to help form it into a dome. For the sides, I just roll them up. The boot only consists of 5 pieces, but keep in mind that it may be a little more difficult than you would think due to the oversized nature of this build. I start by closing up the big V-shaped cuts in the toe area. These are called darts and it'll allow the foam to bend into a curve. At the end of this clip, you'll see that I'm going to add some green highlights to 2 of the edges on my pattern. After making my boot, I realized that the front of my ankle area does not come together with straight cuts. Adding an outward 45 45-degree angle gives that area some positive connection. To correct my mistake and not have to redo this whole thing, I just filled the back with a little bit of hot glue on the inside. The ridge at the top of this boot has a nice rounded over detail. I am going to achieve this by using a 48mm EVA dowel. I bought this massive foam dowel from TNT Cosplay Supply online and simply cut it in half to go around the top. I don't know why my autofocus went haywire on this clip, but you can vaguely make out a blurry Bigfoot image of me trying to piece this together and glue it onto the top perimeter.
Perfect.
The bottom of the boot has this striped pattern and the Mischief logo engraved on it. Since this is my own version, I thought it would be fun to have my Much Props logo within the lines. I went on a drawing program on my computer and drew up the design, converted it to an SVG, and then let my laser cutter do all the cutting. It saved me a little bit of time and I could continue working on other parts while it was going. I also had to cut out some windows and doors for me out of wood and acrylic that I'll use later. Now I'm going to make the roof of my old lady's house. I wanted my roof to be removable, so I insert a strip into the boot top to give a rim for the rest of it to sit on. With a few basic shapes and a couple of minutes, I make a pretty decent cap. I use contact cement to join the parts together. You slather it on the areas you want to join and then let it sit for a couple of minutes till it's no longer wet, then you tack them together permanently. To give my roof some shingles, I'm going to use Ben Eadie and Stephanie Chan's EVA foam scale mail. You can find this awesome stuff on foamarmory.com. It's not a sponsor, they're just awesome people who have given me some and I thought I'd use some more of it. Both my Knights Templar, Iron Man, and my Viking Link cosplay have used some of it. I also used it on a drinking holder, a jewelry box, and my angler fish that I made a while back. You pop the pre-perforated foam out, remove all the little circles circles and then proceed to weave them together. Once I built a long enough sheet, I can contact cement it to the roof. I made a little roof to go over my door, cut out some windows and door on my laser cutter, and now I'm ready to attach them. I super glue the small roof where I want it to sit, then I trace the door and window parts to the desired locations and cut the holes out for them. I try to cut them slightly within my trace lines so that they are a snug fit. I wait to glue these up until after I paint. Apparently, I decided that this giant house shaped like a boot is in fact constructed out of normal building materials and not in fact a giant's lost footwear. I want to make it look like the plaster is chipping away, revealing some brick underneath. To give it a bit of dimension, I am going to cut out random sections, burn in bricks with my wood burner, then contact cement them in wet so I can recess and position them. Make sure to wear a respirator and work in a well-ventilated area while burning or sanding foam. You don't want to breathe in fumes or dust.
Perfect.
Two coats of Plasti Dip. Then I give a good base coat in red for the shoe and brown for the roof out of some spray paint. The rest of the boot is going to have to be hand painted with some acrylic paints. After base colors are put on, I hit the surface with both washes and dry brushing to bring out various details. After the painting is completed, I glue in the doors and the windows. I need some glass in these windows to prevent things from just flying into this little old lady's house. And when I say glass, I mean acrylic that I'm sanding on one side so that you can't see in it. You know, she needs her privacy. This could also allow me to drop lights inside the little house and illuminate the windows from behind. I hot glue them onto the inside. Super glue could work also, but it reacts with acrylic, causing it to cloud up, and I don't really want that foggy surface on the outside. To add just a little more weathering and age to this house, I thought it would be cool to add some vines growing on the surface. I spread a bit of scenic glue to the areas I want growth to go and push it into place. I got this all from my local hobby store. The darker material is called undergrowth and is loosely held together with some fibers intertwined in between them. You just pull it apart and it looks like vines. The lighter stuff is called low growth, and it's just like bits of what looks like some kind of foam shavings. A combo of these two helps me to fill in the spots that I want. As a last fun little detail, I thought it would be cool to add a little bit of graffiti tagging to areas a person could reach without climbing. So with a Sharpie marker and a list of my awesome Patreon members, I go about randomly defacing this poor lady's facade. My Patreon members are one of the ways that I am able to continue posting builds week after week. If you would like to help support this channel, please consider joining them. They get sneak peeks, special polls, and behind the scenes content each week. If you can't afford it, that's okay too. Maybe you could just share this build with your friends, or maybe even show them the channel. Every little bit helps me to grow and hopefully leads to more exciting things. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think it turned out pretty cool. Definitely something that like a little kid could use to play with, like dolls or something. Or if you were just really into the old lady who lived in a shoe nursery rhyme, here's a great representation of it. I really enjoyed putting my Patreon members' names on there just to kind of pay homage to them and say thank you and make this part of the piece. So I've got some little graffiti style tags all over the place, and I wanted to make it like a half and half just in case you wanted to, like, say display this on a shelf and you didn't want it to be the old lady who lived in a shoe. It could just be the shoe. These things are really big, and I don't even think that I made mine high enough, so I think it technically should be a little bit bigger than this. I wear a size 14, and this could probably fit at least a size 20 inside, so definitely gonna have to do some adjustments on sizing it to fit your foot. But with that said, this could potentially save you a couple $100 if you were just looking to take a couple of silly pictures with stuff. So yeah, Maybe you will try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull an old nursery rhyme out of nowhere, combine it with a pop culture reference, and make it something that looks kind of cool. Maybe. Maybe you'll get some...
Oh, would you look at this?
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? Give them one of these. Tell them, much props. I'm willing to let you try it on if you'd like. You just stick your foot in there, or your face.
Perfect.
If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to continue to see builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.